You're following me too closely.
The guide is looking over his shoulder, addressing Margaret.
I'm sorry.
If someone gets pulled into the lake, they'll instinctively reach for anything to hold on to. Do not let that be you.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if you're new here. My name is Death by Pony and today we're playing Lake of Voices. So without further ado, let's hop in. Alright guys, we're starting our final playthrough today. And then from this, we're going to have another one where there's a save in it, and then what happens after the save, there's going to be like two options, and then it'll change it, and then we'll have all the achievements. And then you can finally be done and being like, finally, a new game. So that is the plan for today. So without further ado, let's hop in. Certain choices in time and running out of time isn't something to completely avoid. Alright. My grip on my lantern tightens as the fog around us thickens. While the forests in this area are relatively safe compared to Sinlos, I can't help but feel my hair stand on end the further we get. My free hand fingers the hilt of my sword, something akin to a nervous reflex.
Have you seen it before?
Belay breaks the silence, either sensing my unease or assuaging his own. I hope it's the latter.
I haven't. I've had no reason to go near this cursed lake until now. What of you?
Belay scratches his chin casually as though I asked what his favorite food is.
I traveled a long way around it once before. Not so pleasant. Something about it just frays your nerves. Although, even being near it is enough.
I'm not the only one who feels it. A sense of relief hits me, but not enough to undo the buzzing of anxiety. The lake, Sinlos. Most try their best to avoid it all their lives. The hundreds who die attempting to cross it, its unearthly black water, dragged to death by the creatures lurking within, aren't a secret.
No wonder you were assigned this mission.
There are few who've had first-hand experience with the place, even from a distance. They'll probably keep being picked whenever they need someone to cross, for however long he's with us. Belay shrugs, bringing his attention back to the dark path before us.
At least we're taking the bridge this time. It'll only take 2 days instead of double that, and the sooner this place is behind us, the better.
It would be preferable not to risk it. But time is of the essence. We don't really have a choice.
One of our allied villages, Himmer, is being harassed by brigaders, a band of ruffians. We don't have many guards to send on assist, only Belay and myself. The least we can do is arrive before we are too late to be of any use. These kinds of squabbles happen often, but have to be put down, lest they turn into a blood grudge or all-out war. The last we heard, neither option was far off.
I can also see why they chose you to come out here.
I glance at Belay, an eyebrow raised. A slight smile plays across his lips.
You're always so calm and so serious. Nothing can get to you. You're the best choice they had.
I smile. A smile now tugs at my own lips. I would like to thank him, but that wouldn't be so calm and serious as he just described. And if that's how he sees me, I'd like to keep it that way. My lack of reaction only makes his smile grow, and he chuckles a bit. For refocusing on the path, I'd do the same. It wouldn't be right to let my guard down in a place like this. Belay appears to feel differently, however.
You know the town on the other side of the lake, though. It's not so similar to ours. If all goes well, perhaps we'll have enough time to enjoy the new area.
For the most part, I ignore him, nodding when applicable. Belay is a talkative sort, and if chatting keeps his worries down and his sword hand ready, I have no complaints. After a time, the thick fog surrounding us begins to clear. A slick wooden dock comes into view, and with the sounds of the water gently lapping at its sides. Belay shifts beside me, stretching his lantern arm as far as it'll go. He seems tense.
Someone's already here.
A young woman stands by the dock, eyeing us warily. Does she intend to cross tonight? Evidently, she has the same question as we step up next to her. It's clear she isn't simply passing by. She's waiting. The stranger nods curtly to us.
Margaret.
Kika the Steadfast.
Bemele. Hello?
There's a stuffy silence. Margaret turns to gaze across the lake, expression unclear, with not much to say. Mel and I do the same. From here, the black surface of the lake looks disarmingly calm. Wind rushes across its surface. It sounds like whispering. Though perhaps it actually is whispering. I concentrate, trying to place the difference, searching for breaks and rhythm. After a few seconds, I feel foolish. It doesn't matter what the noise is. Whether I hear him or not, we're not alone. The Nixie are out there. A feeling that I can't quite shake tells me they've already noticed a little group of people on their shores. It feels hostile. My stomach sinks, and I instead address Bemele.
Where is the guide?
Unless he's on the center island, or on the complete other side, your guess is as good as mine. It's dark as pitch out there.
Panic rises inside me. Panic I try hard to quell.
We can't cross without him, and we need to get going soon.
You can't cross with him either.
The woman behind us, Margaret, cuts in with something like a snort.
What?
I know the guide will be here tonight. I have already made arrangements with him to cross.
Bella and I share a look. The woman seems haughty and willing to put up a fuss.
I have his word he'll take me today. It would be wiser for the two of you to begin the trip around if you're really in such a hurry. Or you can make camp here and wait for him to make the trip back if you prefer.
I don't need to turn my attention to Bemele to know he is riled up. I step in before he can say something rash.
Even if that is so, my companion and I must begin the trip tonight.
Margaret is unimpressed and opens her mouth to argue further.
We'll wait for the guide to arrive before coming to a conclusion about any of this.
She clamps her mouth shut, then lets out a sigh.
You can do as you like.
With the matter tentatively settled, Bemele moves away. His fingers begin to tap loudly against the top of his hilt. He shifts from one foot to another, then groans.
What's that bastard even up to?
I was visibly startled, but managed to resist myself. He probably doesn't know any better. I'm sure of that. It's not worth mentioning.
With a mouth like that, you shouldn't even have the right to ask the guide to take you across.
How ludicrous. He's faced far worse than a bit of foul language.
Do you know anything that's happened with this lake?
I know enough.
Margaret is clearly not convinced, but she shrugs and makes a show of turning her back to him.
The guide's father is Garvin the Exemplar. Garvin never accepted the guide as his son, all the way up until he died in this lake. Your statement could be seen as tasteless.
Oh.
Bemele rubbed the back of his neck, his face regretful.
My apologies to the guide. I didn't mean it that way. I never knew about his... well, that.
A smile spreads across my face, one I quickly wipe away. He really did just misspeak. The silence slowly stretches between the three of us, growing more and more awkward with each passing second. Margaret seems irritated and Bemele abashed. Say nothing. We each remain locked inside our own thoughts, not another word passing between us. Eventually, a small light appeared on the bridge ahead, gently swaying through the foggy air, getting closer and closer until it becomes apparent it's a figure carrying a lantern. That must be the guide, although I can't shake the ghostly aura it gives off. The figure steps onto the shore, but we wait for him to approach us instead of going to meet him. None of us are sure how close we can get to the water before it is no longer safe. He stops in front of us and simply stares.
Are you the guide of Sinlos?
The man nods. He has a sharp face and weary eyes.
Well, that's grand. We would like an escort across the lake.
Melanie motions to the two of us, and Margaret approaches, a strained smile on her face.
Hello, it's good to see you again. I'm ready to cross, as we've agreed upon.
The guide turns to face her as well, face remaining unchanged. It must not be a lie. He would have had to say something otherwise. She really does have preference to travel with him. That's a problem.
Is there a way we can all begin the trip tonight?
Yes, I will allow all three of you to go. But with that many, at least one will die before we reach the other side.
I furrow my brow. It's a disturbing addendum, and one offered with little emotion attached. Molly glares back, asking without asking what we're supposed to do with the circumstances.
You should go around.
The sentence hangs in the air, the second half unspoken. If you want to live.
We don't have time for that! There are people counting on us for protection. Why does she need to go?
He jerks a finger at Margaret, whose face contorts with anger.
I don't need to explain myself to you. My journey has already been put off once, and I was promised I could go today. I will be going under any circumstances.
She meets Benelli's eyes with a gaze of steel. He starts to speak, and she cuts in.
An extra day or two shouldn't be that much of a problem for you. Whoever you're meeting can surely wait such a tiny amount longer. Patience is a virtue, after all.
The night is only so long, and if we're still on the bridges when the sun comes up, we'll all die as they sink back below the surface. If you don't decide soon, no one will be going.
The guide is dispassionate, stoic. I would almost feel something wrong with him if I didn't share the trait myself. Molly pulls me to the side, jaw clenched.
That woman isn't armed.
His voice is low. He dares to glance at Margaret.
We can easily get her to back off if we make this into an actual fight. After all, we have to go tonight, yes? If one of us really is to die, it'll be her. Would staying be a worse fate than her death?
How do you know she's going to be the one to die, Bemele? I stare at the dock, refusing to meet Bemele's eyes, and try to keep my voice as level as possible.
We don't know her situation. This isn't a decision we can make for her.
What?
Bemele leans in closer, apparently having missed what I said. I remove the sympathy from her in my response when I speak again.
The guide won't accept something like that, I assume.
His face is grim.
Then what else do you have in mind?
First of all, you and I cannot split up. Either we both stay, or we both go.
Right. That's not a question.
I cross my arms, a hand on my chin, have full confidence in my abilities, and in Bemele's, but there is no reason not to believe the guide knows exactly what he is talking about. If we go, he might not be able to give the group the attention we each deserve. That would mean we truly would be putting Margaret's life at risk on top of our own. We go.
And I believe you.
Of course we go. If we don't go, we don't continue the game. Bemele's reply is firm. His steadfastness seems almost weak in comparison to its certainty. He addresses the guide.
We shouldn't waste more time. Let's shove off.
The guide slowly turns around, without even a nod, show his agreement. Margaret stares at Bemele and me, something of a resolve in her gaze. She follows after the guide. At least she didn't insist we stay behind.
We should do what we can to protect her. It's our fault she's being put in even further danger.
Exactly my thoughts. We will take care of everything. Maybe I'm being naive, but I have no intentions of letting anyone fall victim to this lake tonight. Those...
He turned to follow the others across. I will protect everyone on this trip. I will. We will make it through this. Then I step onto the dock to join them. As soon as I step onto the wood, the temperature drops. The light of my lamp shines against the water's surface as reflective as a mirror. Until we reach land again, death is only one small mistake away. We fall into line, with the guide leading the way. Margaret stays close to him, and I behind her, watching to make sure she doesn't slip on the slick, wet wood. Molly brings up the rear. Each of us holds our lantern in front of us, but it does little good. The fog is thick and the night impenetrable, consuming the light as if hungry for it. Above the surface of the lake, it's deathly quiet. No longer is it the whispering wind, nor the sound of water lapping against the shore. It's just our own mismatched footsteps, and the sound of my quickened breath. My eyes drift back to the lake against my better judgment. It is no wonder there is not even a sound of water with how still the surface is. It seems almost dirty with the sheen of the black marble floor. I've heard rumors that the water of Sinless is heavier, more difficult to disturb than natural water. Just that the weight of it is oppressive cling is enough to keep someone down, even without them. Something even darker than the abyss of the lake flickers just below the surface, or at least I think it does. I turn my gaze to Margaret's back. It's better to stay focused.
Fall back a bit. You're following me too closely.
The guide is looking over his shoulder, addressing Margaret.
I'm sorry.
If someone gets pulled into the lake, they'll instinctively reach for anything to hold on to. Do not let that be you.
Margaret's shoulders rise as she nods with great seriousness.
I understand. Thank you for the advice.
He ignores her gratitude.
You can speak amongst yourselves if you so choose, as long as you pay attention to where you're going. There is no worth in listening to the sounds out there. If there's anything at all, it'll only be Nixie trying to set you on edge.
All right. Then, could you tell us your name? You didn't have a chance to properly introduce yourself, and I've only heard you being referred to as the guide.
I don't have a name.
He's facing the front again, his face as expressionless as before. I have no way of guessing how he feels as he says this.
Oh.
It's probably not something he'd wish to talk about. However, there was something else I wanted to say, so changing the subject is not difficult.
Margaret, thank you for allowing us to join you.
Margaret shrugs noncommentally.
It wasn't exactly up to me. The guide said he would take you.
She hesitates, and then she looks tentatively over her shoulder at me.
But thank you for saying that. It's appreciated.
Bemele and I will do our best to be an asset on this trip, rather than a burden.
That's nice. I'm not afraid to be out here, though. Still, at least with your training, you should be able to take care of yourselves.
It's comforting to know that everyone here is so confident in their abilities, not enough to forget how terrible it feels to be over this lake. I'm not sure if that's fortunate or unfortunate. Believing yourself to be secure doesn't mean that you are. As the conversation lulls, a new sound breaks through. It's a whispering noise again. It's the chatter of inhuman voices, and this time it's coming from all around us.
Taking care of yourself is exactly what you need to do.
The guide is speaking again, except louder, as if to cover the Nixie's voice with his own.
Work to survive at all costs, and hope that everyone around you has enough sense to do the same. That's the only way you'll make it to the other side.
Margaret nods in response, but I hear a grunt from behind me.
Groups tend to go further when they work together to achieve the same goal.
The guide doesn't say anything in response to Bemele's grumbling either. I'm not sure whether he didn't hear Bemele, or whether he just didn't feel the statement made thus far worthy of addressing. I have a feeling it's the latter. We go around a large bend in the bridge, the part of it forking off in another way. I wonder how the guide knows which of these essentially identical paths is correct, when something in the corner of my eye catches my attention.
I believe I saw something over there.
Keep walking. No need to worry.
The guide's voice is calm and level. I decided against pressing the issue, not wanting to set everyone even more on edge.
What did he say?
Perhaps not wanting the conversation to be caught by the guide, he speaks softly, though I couldn't quite hear him because of it. I take my eyes off Margaret ahead of me for a moment to explain to Bemele and stop dead in my tracks. Only one word is able to escape me in my stunned state.
Behind
Bemele, standing another figure, looming in the darkness. Seeing my face, Bemele grabs the hilt of his sword. He whips around and staggers swiftly backwards. Several meters away, a crooked, twisted black figure hobbles its way towards us. Some kind of liquid drips off its head, curling around the edges of its face. Almost looks like it's crying. Bemele backs up until he's standing beside me. The figure continues its slow advance, head jerking from one angle to another.
What on earth?
It's one of them.
Yes, Nixie that stumble across the bridges looking for opportunities.
The guide is standing next to us. I didn't even notice him approach.
The ones that can make it out of the water are generally referred to as prowlers.
I had no idea things like that were out here. Is that what Kika saw down the other path?
The guide says nothing, instead returning to the front of the party. Margaret watches him pass. Her frustration morphs into nervous optimism when something seems to come into her mind.
Well, Nixie aren't slowed down much by swords, but at least the light keeps them away, right?
Margaret's hand grips her face tight, and desperation bleeds into her voice. I bite the inside of my lip.
Direct light will force it to return to the lake. However, it'll try to drag the light, or you, down with it before it goes.
And that's where we'll end that one. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, remember to like. That way I know you're enjoying the content I'm making. Remember to subscribe. That way YouTube brings you back here to see what happens next, and I won't take up any more of your time. I hope you have a good day. I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.